The moons of Vexor hung low in the sky, casting a cold silver glow over the jagged rocks below. The silence of the barren landscape was broken only by the faint hum of Ryan's cargo ship as it hovered above the ground. Ryan had been stationed on this remote outpost for months, repairing mining equipment and mapping asteroid fields, and he had grown used to the emptiness. Life on Vexor was lonely, but it had its routines, and routines were safe. He was just finishing a routine maintenance check on the ship's engines when a sharp alarm cut through the cabin. The red light blinked urgently on the console, accompanied by a piercing sound that made his heart jump. Ryan frowned as he leaned closer, trying to read the holographic display. A distress beacon flashed repeatedly. It was coming from a nearby moon crater, deep in a region known for scavenger drones that attacked anyone who wandered too close. Without a second thought, Ryan activated the ship's engines and plotted a course. The thought of leaving the signal ignored did not cross his mind. Something told him someone was in real danger. The cargo ship roared as it lifted off the ground, and the air trembled with its power. Ryan gripped the controls, eyes fixed on the distant signal point. As he approached the crater, the scene below became visible through the ship's reinforced windows. Smoke curled into the sky and debris scattered across the rocky ground. In the center lay a smashed shuttle, its hull torn and sparking in several places. Around it, small insect-like drones zipped through the air, scanning the area for movement. Their red sensors glowed like angry eyes, and Ryan knew they would attack anything alive. He set the ship down a safe distance away and grabbed his survival pack. It contained a portable blaster, a few energy grenades, and a field repair kit. He would need all of it. Heart pounding, he activated the pack and jumped onto the rocky ground. Dust rose beneath his boots as he ran toward the shuttle. The drones noticed him instantly. They screeched, flying in sharp arcs, their metallic bodies glinting in the moonlight. Ryan crouched behind a large boulder and aimed his blaster. He fired a quick burst, hitting one drone in midair. It exploded into sparks, and the others hesitated as if surprised by the human's bravery. That was all he needed. He ran faster, using the rocks as cover until he reached the shuttle. Inside, the damage was worse than he expected. Wires hung from the ceiling, panels flickered with unstable energy, and a faint smoke stung his nose. A figure moved weakly in the wreckage. Ryan's eyes widened. It was not human. The being had smooth, pale blue skin and eyes that glowed like liquid silver. It wore a uniform that marked it as someone important, a symbol he could not recognize. "Are you alive?" he asked, his voice steady despite the fear curling in his stomach. The figure nodded weakly. I think so." "Please help me," it said in a language that Ryan did not understand at first. Then, surprisingly, the words shifted, and he realized she was speaking in Galactic Common, the trade language he had learned for emergencies. "I'm going to get you out," Ryan promised. He checked the shuttle's hull, looking for a path through the fire and debris. A small side panel had bent open, revealing a narrow exit. He crouched and guided her through it. She moved carefully, her movements graceful despite the injury in her leg. The drones returned, buzzing angrily around them. Ryan grabbed an energy grenade from his pack. He pulled the pin and tossed it toward the drones. The blast shook the ground, sending the drones flying in every direction. Ryan seized the moment. "Come on, we move now," he urged. She nodded, holding his hand for balance, and together they ran across the crater toward the safety of his ship. They reached the ship, panting and covered in dust. Ryan quickly activated the ramp and helped her inside. The moment her feet touched the deck, he sealed the doors. The drones slammed against the shields outside, scraping and screeching, but they could not penetrate the ship's armor. Ryan exhaled, relief washing over him. "You're safe now," he said, glancing at her. She leaned against the wall, still catching her breath. Her silver eyes studied him with something he could not name. Gratitude, yes, but there was more. A flicker of curiosity and wonder. "I am Tira," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Princess of Zalari." Ryan blinked, momentarily taken aback. "Princess?" he repeated. He had never met royalty, and certainly never from another world. He straightened his back and gave her a small smile. "Well, Princess Tira, I'm Ryan, and I just saved your life. You're welcome." She gave a faint smile, the first sign of humor he had seen. "It is more than a welcome. You risked your life. I do not know how to thank you properly." Ryan waved his hand. "No need, just get better." "That's thanks enough." The ship's engines roared as he lifted off the ground, leaving the drones behind in the crater. Ryan kept a careful eye on the instruments. Tira's shuttle had been badly damaged and she would need time to recover before she could travel again. He set a course for the nearest friendly station, a small outpost where he could patch her up and plan their next steps. During the flight, Ryan noticed how quiet she was. Her eyes watched the passing stars, reflecting the light in a way that made them seem almost alive. He wanted to speak, to break the silence, but he also sensed the weight of what had just happened. She had been through a terrifying ordeal, and he had dragged her into it further. Finally, she spoke. "You are very different from humans I have heard of," she said carefully. Ryan tilted his head. "Different how?" "You are brave, but not reckless. Clever, but not cruel. Most humans I know are either too careful or too careless. You are in between," Ryan laughed softly. "I'll take that as a compliment, and I'll try to keep being in between, I guess." For a long while, they were silent again. Ryan focused on flying the ship safely, while Tira looked out the viewport. He noticed her glance at him from time to time, her expression unreadable but thoughtful. Despite the danger they had just escaped, he felt an unexpected sense of calm in her presence. Hours passed and the stars stretched endlessly around them. Ryan knew that once they reached the station, new challenges would await. Tira was a princess of a powerful alien empire and he was just a human engineer. Their worlds were different in every way. Yet in this moment, their fates were intertwined by courage, chance, and something neither of them could name. When the station finally appeared as a cluster of lights against the darkness of space, Ryan exhaled in relief. "We're here," he said. The docking bay doors opened and he guided the ship inside. Robotic assistants moved swiftly around, scanning the hull for damage. Tira stepped out carefully, leaning on Ryan for support. Her injury made her movements slow, but her silver eyes shone with determination. "You have my thanks," she said again, this time with a hint of warmth. Ryan shrugged. "I told you, Princess. Just stay alive. That's all that matters." As they entered the medical bay, Ryan could not help but notice the small smile that lingered on her lips. It was subtle, but it felt like a promise, an acknowledgement that their story was far from over. Outside, the moons of Vexor glimmered under the pale starlight, silent witnesses to the first chapter of a journey that would change both their lives. Ryan did not know what lay ahead, but for the first time in months he felt a spark of purpose. He had saved a life today, but he suspected that life would soon save his heart in ways he could not yet imagine. And in the quiet hum of the medical bay, two very different beings shared a moment of peace, unaware of the storm of adventure, loyalty, and courage that awaited them among the stars. The medical bay was quiet except for the gentle hum of the life support systems. Ryan stood near the bed watching Princess Tira rest. The wounds from the shuttle crash were minor but left her weak and pale. He had insisted on accompanying her, knowing that she would need support both physically and emotionally. She had faced danger and survived, but the experience left a shadow in her eyes, one he was determined to chase away. "Ryan," she whispered, her voice soft. "You did not have to risk yourself for me." He shook his head, smiling lightly. "I did. You would have done the same for someone in my place." "We both know that." Her silver eyes widened slightly, not expecting him to speak with such confidence. "Humans, you are strange creatures," she said, trying to hide a small laugh. "I get that a lot," Ryan replied, his voice calm. "But sometimes strange is good. It keeps life interesting." Tira looked at him, studying his face. There was a simplicity in his expression, a kind of honesty she had rarely seen among her people. Most Solari carried a shield over their emotions, a rule of protocol and survival. Humans, she realized, were different. They could act on instinct, on heart, and not just on duty. After a few hours, the medics allowed her to move. She rose carefully from the bed, assisted by Ryan, and followed him to the cargo ship. He had prepared a small private cabin for her recovery during the journey back to her homeworld. Tira stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room. It was plain but comfortable, with soft lighting and a small window showing the stars. "You did all this for me?" she asked, her voice filled with surprise. "I made it livable," Ryan said with a shrug. "We have to travel far, and I figured you should be comfortable." She nodded quietly, the weight of her gratitude evident. "I do not know how to repay you. In our world, acts like this, they are rare, almost unheard of." Ryan smiled. "Don't worry about that. Just promise me you will stay safe. That's repayment enough." As the ship rose into space, leaving the crater behind, Ryan settled into the pilot's chair. The journey ahead was long, through asteroid fields and zones patrolled by scavengers, and he could not take any chances. Tira watched the stars pass by, her thoughts drifting between relief and curiosity. "You seem calm," she said finally, breaking the silence. "Calm?" Ryan replied. "I guess I have to be. Panicking in space rarely ends well." She tilted her head, intrigued. "Humans are very different. Brave yet cautious. Curious yet careful. I try to keep a balance," Ryan said. "It works most of the time." They shared a quiet laugh, and for a moment the fear and tension of the crash faded. Outside the ship, the stars stretched endlessly, a reminder of how small their troubles were in the grand universe. Yet even in the vastness of space, danger waited around every corner, and Ryan knew this journey would not be simple. As they traveled, he showed Tira how to operate some of the ship's systems. She watched intently, her hands hovering over controls, her silver eyes reflecting the blinking lights of the consoles. Ryan explained things slowly, avoiding technical jargon. He wanted her to understand without feeling overwhelmed. "You humans are clever," Tira said, adjusting a lever under his guidance. "I would have struggled to manage this ship alone. My people trust machines, but not the intuition of a stranger. You combine both." "Intuition comes with practice and mistakes," Ryan replied. "I've had plenty of both." She laughed softly. "Your confidence is unusual, but it reassures me." The conversation helped Tira forget the crash, even if only for a while. She began to ask about Ryan's life on Earth, curious about his world, his work, and the stars he had seen. Ryan answered openly, telling her about the deserts and oceans of his planet, the mountains, the cities, and the night skies filled with satellites and distant planets. Tira listened, fascinated by the idea of a world so different from her own. "You make it sound like magic," she said with a smile. "It's real," Ryan said, returning her smile. "You just need to look at it the right way." They spent hours in this way, talking and learning about each other. Tira's strength returned gradually, and she began helping with the ship, learning to navigate through asteroid belts and scan for threats. Ryan noticed her natural talent. She was disciplined, quick, and sharp. She learned fast, and her determination reminded him of why he had risked so much to save her. As the first day of travel passed, a warning light blinked on the control panel. Ryan frowned and leaned closer. "Scavenger drones," he muttered. "They must have tracked the wreck site. We need to move fast." Tira's eyes narrowed. "Can we outrun them?" "We can try," Ryan said. "Hold on." He pushed the ship to maximum speed, weaving through asteroid fields with precision. The drones followed, their sensors locked on the ship. Small bursts of fire erupted from them, but Ryan skillfully maneuvered the ship, dodging each attack. Tira held the side handle, gripping it tightly as the cabin shook with every movement. "Are they going to stop?" she shouted over the noise. "They might if we lose them," Ryan replied. "We need to reach the nebula cluster up ahead. Its dense clouds will block their sensors." Together, they navigated through the cluster, the ship's hull rattling from the turbulence. Tira's nerves were steadying, and she followed Ryan's instructions with growing confidence. He smiled quietly to himself. She was learning quickly, and it amazed him how a princess of a powerful empire could adapt so fast to danger. Hours later, the drones fell behind, unable to penetrate the thick nebula. Ryan exhaled, wiping sweat from his brow. "We're safe for now," he said, trying to sound calm, though his heart was still racing. Tira looked at him, her eyes filled with admiration. "You are incredible," she said softly. Ryan chuckled. "Just lucky, and maybe stubborn too." For the rest of the journey, the mood shifted. Tira asked questions about human history, about bravery and survival, and Ryan told her stories of explorers and inventors, of humans who had faced impossible odds and survived. She listened, captivated, and for the first time Ryan realized that the stories he had grown up with were not just for entertainment. They were lessons in courage, lessons he could now share with someone from another world. By the time they approached the Zelari system, Tira was fully recovered. She moved with strength and grace, helping Ryan manage the ship's approach. He noted the pride in her demeanor and felt a quiet respect for her. She was not just royalty. She was brave, intelligent, and willing to learn from others. As the Zelari capital planet came into view, a city of shining towers and floating platforms. Tira leaned closer to the viewport. "Home," she whispered. Her eyes sparkled with a mixture of relief and anticipation. "And yet, I feel uncertain. My mother will not welcome a human so close to the royal family." Ryan nodded, understanding the unspoken truth. "We'll face that when we get there," he said. "For now, let's just focus on landing safely." The landing was smooth, guided by Ryan's careful control. As the cargo ship touched down on the platform, guards in polished armor surrounded them instantly. Ryan's hand instinctively moved toward his blaster, but Tira stepped forward. "Wait," she said, her voice commanding. "He saved me. He is no threat." The guards hesitated, then lowered their weapons. Tira turned to Ryan. "Follow me," she said. Quickly, before anyone changes their mind. Ryan followed, careful not to stumble on the sleek platforms of the city. The air smelled faintly of ozone and alien flora, a mix of technology and life unique to the Zalari homeworld. He felt both awe and caution. They had made it through danger in space, but now a different kind of challenge awaited, a political and cultural challenge he could not ignore. They reached the royal palace, a structure of crystal towers and flowing energy lines. Inside, Tira led him to a chamber where her mother, Queen Alira, awaited. The room was vast and bright, filled with advisors and guards. Queen Alira's presence was commanding, her silver eyes sharp as she studied the human before her. "You are the one who saved my daughter," she said, her tone calm but firm. Ryan bowed slightly. "Yes, Your Majesty. It was my duty to help someone in danger." Queen Alira's eyes narrowed. "A human daring to enter the Zalari domain. Brave, yes, but naive. Tell me, why should I trust you now?" Ryan straightened. "Because I have risked my life for her, and I would do it again. I do not seek reward, only to ensure her safety." Tira watched the exchange silently, her heart swelling with pride and worry. She knew her mother would not easily forgive the intrusion of a human into royal matters, but she also knew that Ryan's courage spoke louder than words. Queen Alira did not respond immediately. Instead, she studied Ryan with the weight of centuries of tradition in her gaze. Ryan met her stare without flinching, his resolve clear. The moment stretched, silent and tense, until finally, Queen Alira spoke again. "Very well. You will remain under observation. Do not think this grants you freedom or favor. Any misstep and the consequences will be severe." Ryan nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty." Tira's hand brushed against his arm, a silent gesture of gratitude and solidarity. The journey was not over, but Ryan knew that he had earned the first measure of respect. The adventure of trust, courage, and unexpected friendship was only beginning. The palace of Queen Alira stretched into the clouds, its crystal towers shimmering in the light of the twin suns. The corridors were quiet, almost too quiet except for the echo of footsteps on polished floors. Ryan followed Princess Tira carefully, the weight of the royal presence heavy in the air. Every guard they passed watched them closely, and he realized how different this world was from the simple outpost of Vexor he had left behind. They arrived at a large chamber, the walls lined with transparent panels showing the city below. The view was breathtaking, but Ryan could not focus on it. His thoughts were entirely on the Queen, a ruler whose reputation for wisdom and strict justice was known across many star systems. Tira led him to a position before her throne. The Queen sat tall, her posture perfect, her eyes sharp and calculating. "Ryan of Earth," Queen Alira said, her voice echoing slightly, "you have entered the royal domain, saved my daughter, and disrupted the security of the palace. You stand here claiming honor, but I must determine if you are friend or threat." Ryan swallowed, standing tall despite the tension. "Your Majesty, I did not come to disrupt anything. I only sought to save Princess Tira. That was all." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Your actions are admirable, human, but your presence cannot be ignored. You have seen and touched things that are not meant for outsiders, secrets of navigation, defense, and royal protocols. Tell me, why should I allow you to leave freely?" Ryan paused. He could feel Tira's hand brushing against his arm lightly, a reminder of her trust in him. "Because I have nothing but respect for your world and your daughter. I'm not here for power or knowledge. I only wish to return safely after doing the right thing." Queen Alira tilted her head, considering him. "You speak with honesty, yet honesty alone does not protect my people. Humans are known for courage, yes, but also recklessness. Tell me, how can I know you will not endanger the Zalari again?" Ryan thought carefully. He knew any word he chose could influence her decision. I will not act without purpose. I understand now that my actions have consequences beyond my own safety. I would not risk your people, Your Majesty, unless absolutely necessary. For a moment, silence filled the room. Only the soft hum of the palace energy fields could be heard. The Queen's gaze was sharp, but something in her expression softened slightly. She looked at her daughter, who stood quietly beside him, her silver eyes full of hope and quiet determination. You have courage, Alira said finally, and perhaps some wisdom as well. But courage alone does not grant trust. Your presence here will be under strict supervision. You will remain in the palace, allowed to move only under my guidance or that of the princess. Any deviation, and you will be detained. Ryan nodded. I understand, Your Majesty. I will follow your rules. Tira stepped forward, her voice gentle but firm. Mother, please. He risked everything to save me. He is not a threat. To hold him here as a prisoner would dishonor his bravery and ours. The Queen's gaze flicked to her daughter, and a faint sigh escaped her lips. Tira, you have always had a soft heart, which is a strength and a weakness. You see bravery and not the danger. The human saved you, yes, but he is not one of us. How can I be certain that his presence will not bring harm? He learned from experience, Tira insisted. He understands the risks now. I have watched him. He is careful and clever, not careless. You taught me that trust must be earned, and he has earned mine. Alira's eyes softened further, but her voice remained steady. You speak with the passion of a princess. Very well. He will remain under observation, but he will be treated with dignity. Any action against our rules will be met with swift consequences. Ryan bowed his head. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will not disappoint you. The Queen waved her hand, dismissing them to a side chamber where Ryan would be allowed to stay temporarily. The chamber was smaller than Tira's private cabin, but clean and well lit, with a window overlooking the city below. Ryan set down his bag and looked out. The view of the city with its floating platform, shining spires, and moving lights was breathtaking. He felt both awe and the weight of responsibility. Later, Tira returned to check on him. You did well, she said quietly. Even the Queen seemed impressed by your honesty and courage. Ryan shook his head. I am still trapped here. Impressed or not, I cannot leave yet. This is a world I barely understand, and I have already disrupted too much. Tira smiled faintly. Perhaps. But you have also proven that humans can be brave and reliable. That is something my people rarely see. You may not know it, but you have earned respect in ways that cannot be measured by royal protocols. Ryan felt a warmth he had not expected. Thank you, Princess. That means a lot coming from you. In the days that followed, Ryan remained under observation, but he was not treated as a prisoner. Guards allowed him limited access to the palace halls and certain work areas. The palace technicians, curious about his knowledge of engineering and human technology, welcomed his help with minor repairs. Ryan discovered that he could make a real difference. The palace's energy shields were outdated in some sectors, and small adjustments he suggested improved efficiency dramatically. Tira visited him frequently, sometimes bringing food or supplies, other times simply to talk. They shared stories of their worlds, their fears, and the challenges they faced. Ryan found that their conversations were more than casual. They were lessons in trust, understanding, and collaboration. One day, as they walked through a garden terrace suspended above the city, Tira spoke seriously. Ryan, my mother has made her decision, but I worry. You have seen and learned too much. She may never fully trust you. Ryan nodded slowly. I understand. I did not come here seeking favor. I came to save a life and do the right thing. Trust can be earned over time. That is enough for now, she smiled softly. You are patient, something my people are not known for. Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm. The palace security systems had detected unusual energy fluctuations near the outer platforms. Ryan and Tira rushed to the control center, where the guards were already preparing for action. Ryan quickly assessed the readings. It looks like a minor energy surge, he said. Could be a natural fluctuation in the city's energy grid. But if left unchecked, it might disrupt the shields. Tira's eyes widened. Can you fix it? I can try, Ryan said, already moving toward the main console. The system was complex, unlike anything he had worked on before, but his experience with human engineering and improvisation allowed him to find weak points quickly. He instructed the palace technician step by step, making small adjustments that stabilized the energy flow. After tense minutes, The alarms ceased. The guards relaxed, and the chief technician looked at Ryan with a mixture of relief and admiration. "You have a gift," he said. Ryan shook his head. "Just doing my best. The system needed careful attention, that's all." Tira watched him with a mix of amazement and pride. "Your intelligence, courage, and quick thinking are remarkable. My mother may be cautious, but she cannot ignore what you have done." That evening, Tira and Ryan walked through the palace gardens. The twin suns had set, leaving the city bathed in the soft glow of artificial lights. The air was cool, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of alien flowers. "Do you regret coming here?" Tira asked softly. Ryan thought for a moment. "No, saving you was the right thing. Being here is a challenge, yes, but challenges are part of life. And this is an adventure I never expected," she smiled. "You have courage beyond measure. That is rare in any world." They walked in silence for a while, enjoying the peace. But both knew that the Queen's judgment, though fair, marked only the beginning. The human had proven himself, but the road ahead would test not only his bravery, but the strength of his character. As the night deepened, the palace city shimmered below them, a reminder that even in the heart of power, danger and duty could never be ignored. Ryan felt a quiet determination. He would remain true to his principles, protect Tira, and prove that humans could rise to any challenge, no matter how alien or formidable the world around them might be. And as he looked at the stars beyond the palace towers, he knew that his journey with Princess Tira was only just beginning. The twin suns were beginning to set over the Zalari capital, casting a warm orange glow across the crystal towers. Ryan stood on the observation deck watching the city below as the wind of high altitude swept gently past. He felt a quiet tension in the air, as if the world itself knew something significant was about to occur. Princess Tira approached him silently, her steps light but purposeful. Her silver eyes reflected the fading sunlight, and for a moment, Ryan was reminded of the first time he had met her on the barren moon of Vexor. So much had happened since then, and yet here they were, standing together in the heart of her empire. "The Queen has summoned us," Tira said softly. "Something urgent is happening. We must move quickly." Ryan nodded. "I am ready." "What's the situation?" Tira gestured toward the city's protective shields. "A storm is approaching from the nearby planet. Magnetic interference could destabilize the shield system. If it fails, the city's platforms could drift and thousands of lives could be at risk." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then we have no time to waste." They moved quickly through the palace corridors, escorted by a few trusted guards. The atmosphere was tense. Technicians and security personnel were already at the control center, monitoring the storm's approach. The readings on the holographic displays flashed red in warning, indicating severe energy fluctuations in the shield generators. "The primary conduits are unstable," said the chief technician, voice tight with urgency. "We cannot maintain the shields without immediate intervention." Ryan stepped forward. "Show me the system." He quickly analyzed the readings, tracing the problem to overloaded circuits in the secondary generators. "If we reroute the energy and stabilize these nodes manually, we can maintain the shield long enough for the storm to pass," he said. Tira moved beside him. "I will assist you. Tell me what to do." The next few hours were a blur of action. Sparks flew from overloaded panels, alarms blared, and the room shook from minor surges. Ryan directed Tira to monitor energy flow while he adjusted conduits, rerouted power, and reinforced circuits. The storm outside grew stronger, sending tremors through the city. "You're doing well," Tira said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Keep going." Ryan glanced at her, admiration evident. "You're calm under pressure. That helps a lot." They worked tirelessly, their movements synchronized as if they had been trained together for years. The storm raged outside, but inside the control room, their teamwork created order from chaos. Gradually, the shield stabilized, the alarms quieted, and the city's platforms ceased drifting. The chief technician exhaled, relief washing over his face. "You've saved the city. I cannot believe how well this worked." Ryan shook his head, still focused on the controls. "I couldn't have done it without Tira. She guided me when I needed it most." Tira smiled faintly. "We are a team, Ryan, and this city, it will remember today." The Queen arrived shortly after the crisis was resolved. She had observed the storm's approach and Ryan's efforts from her private chamber, watching through a secure communication feed. Her expression was unreadable as she entered the control room, her eyes moving between Ryan and Tira. "You acted decisively," Queen Alira said, her voice calm but commanding. "You risked your life to protect my city and my people. Many would have failed, but you succeeded." Ryan bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I only did what was necessary. Protecting life is worth every risk." The Queen's gaze softened slightly. "Your courage and skill are evident, human. You have proven that your presence here is not a threat, but a benefit. Yet I must consider the laws and customs of my people." Tira stepped forward. "Mother, he has proven himself not once but several times. He is brave, intelligent, and loyal. He deserves not only respect but freedom." Alira regarded her daughter, then Ryan. "I cannot ignore what I have witnessed. Your actions today saved thousands. That is undeniable. For the first time, I see that humans are not merely primitive wanderers, but beings capable of true heroism." Rian felt a mixture of relief and humility. "Your Majesty, I only sought to help. That is all." The Queen's eyes studied him closely, weighing each word and gesture. "Very well. I grant you freedom to leave the palace and return to your world, or to remain here if you choose. But know this. Your actions have created both admiration and envy. Some may resent your presence. You must be vigilant." Ryan bowed again. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will honor your trust." Tira's eyes sparkled with relief and pride. "You see, Ryan? Courage and honesty are recognized everywhere, even here." The days that followed were filled with preparations for Ryan's potential departure. Tira insisted he be treated as an honored guest, not a captive, and the palace staff adjusted accordingly. Ryan helped improve systems, taught the Zalari new methods of engineering efficiency, and shared human ingenuity with anyone willing to learn. Despite the peaceful days, Ryan remained aware that the Empire was a complex place. Politics, tradition, and pride intertwined, creating a delicate balance. Even as he helped and taught, he knew that missteps could have consequences. One evening, Tira joined him on the observation deck. The twin moons reflected softly on the glass panels, and the city below shimmered in the quiet light. "Ryan," she said, her voice serious, "I have thought a lot about what comes next. You have proven yourself, but you are human. You could return home or you could stay. The choice is yours." Ryan considered her words carefully. "I have never been one to seek comfort," he said. "I came here to save you, to do what was right. The choice now. I feel my place is where I can continue to make a difference." Tira's eyes widened slightly. "You would stay?" "I would," Ryan said firmly. "With you and your people. If I can help protect this world and its people, I will do it. That is my choice." Tira smiled, her relief and happiness evident. "Then we will face the future together. Whatever comes, we will meet it as a team." The Queen called them once more to her chamber. Her expression was serene, but her eyes revealed the weight of responsibility she carried. "Ryan of Earth, your choice is noted. You may remain in the Empire, but remember, vigilance and honor must guide every action. You have proven that humanity is capable of great courage, and that is a lesson my people will not soon forget." Ryan bowed. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will serve with honesty and courage." The Queen nodded, her eyes briefly meeting Tira's. "You have chosen well, daughter. You have chosen a companion who values life and justice above all. That is rare. Protect that trust." As they left the chamber, Tira and Ryan walked side by side through the palace gardens. The lights of the city shimmered beneath them, and the air was filled with the quiet hum of energy and life. "You were right," Tira said softly. "Humans can rise to any challenge. You have shown that not only to me, but to everyone here." Ryan smiled. "We all rise together. Courage, intelligence, and honesty. They are not limited to any one species." They paused at the edge of a balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons reflected on the crystalline surfaces, creating a panorama of light and shadow. For Rian, the view was breathtaking, but the greater sight was the bond he shared with Tira, a bond forged in trust, bravery, and shared purpose. The city below remained peaceful, but Ryan knew challenges would continue to come. Space was vast, and danger could appear from unexpected directions. Yet he also knew that with Tira at his side, and the lessons he had learned from both his own world and hers, no obstacle was insurmountable. That night, as the palace settled into quiet calm, Ryan looked up at the stars beyond the towers. He thought of Earth, of Vexer, and of the moons where he had first met Tira. Every choice, every risk had led him to this moment. And in that moment he understood the true meaning of courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act with heart, skill, and honor in the face of it. Princess Tira appeared at his side once more, silent but present. They watched the night sky together, sharing the peace that came after triumph. In the distance, the city lights sparkled like distant stars, a testament to the lives they had protected and the trust they had earned. "Whatever comes next," Tira said softly, "we face it together." Ryan nodded. Together. And as the twin moons cast their silver glow across the palace, Ryan realized that heroism was not about recognition or reward. It was about courage, integrity, and the choice to rise above fear. He had chosen to stay, to protect, and to serve, and in that choice he had found purpose, friendship, and a place among the stars. For the first time since he had left Earth, Ryan felt truly at home on a world far from his own, yet one he could help shape with courage, honor, and humanity. The adventure was far from over, but the first chapter of trust, bravery, and unity had been written, and both human and princess knew that the future, no matter how uncertain, would be brighter for the courage they shared. Days passed within the palace, and Ryan began to feel both the weight and the opportunity of his unique position. He was under observation, yes, but the Queen allowed him access to parts of the palace where his skills could be useful. Technicians often sought his advice, guards occasionally asked for his perspective on structural reinforcements, and even Tira's instructors came to consult him about certain mechanical systems. Ryan felt useful in a way he had never experienced on Earth or Vexor. Tira visited him daily. Each time she brought more than conversation. She shared her thoughts about the politics of the palace, the intricacies of her mother's court, and the challenges of maintaining power in a galaxy filled with competing empires. Ryan listened, learned, and sometimes offered solutions grounded in human ingenuity. "You think too much like an engineer," she said one afternoon, as they examined the city's outer energy grids, "but perhaps that is why your ideas work." "Engineering is about problem solving," Ryan replied with a small smile. "Sometimes you need creativity and sometimes rules. Life is a combination of both." Tira nodded thoughtfully. "I suppose courage is the same. We Zalari are trained to be brave, but often we hesitate because of rules. Humans, you act, yet you still survive. That is something I wish my people could understand." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alarm. A section of the city's energy grid was failing. Without power, the floating platforms would drift, disrupting communications and potentially endangering thousands of citizens. The palace technicians were panicking. Ryan grabbed a portable toolkit and rushed with them to the affected sector. "This is serious," said the chief technician. "We cannot risk failure. If the platforms drift, the entire district could collapse." Ryan nodded, scanning the interface. "Show me the source of the problem," he said. Quickly, he assessed the energy flow. "There's a spike in the secondary power conduit. It's overloading the circuits." Tira joined him at the console. "Can you fix it?" she asked. "I can stabilize it temporarily," Ryan said. "But we'll need to reroute some energy and reinforce the conduits to prevent another spike." Together, they worked swiftly. Tira handled the local controls while Ryan adjusted circuits, rerouting power and stabilizing the failing nodes. Sparks flew, alarms rang, and the room shook from minor surges. Yet working together, they gradually brought the system under control. After tense minutes, the lights steadied, the platforms resumed their correct positions, and the alarms ceased. The chief technician stepped back, visibly impressed. "I have never seen such efficiency. You may have saved thousands today." Ryan shook his head, exhausted but focused. "I just did what needed to be done." Tira's guidance helped a lot too. Tira looked at him with admiration. "We make a good team," she said softly. The events of the day drew attention from the Queen herself. That evening, she called for a private audience in the throne chamber. Ryan and Tira stood before her, both tense and aware that the Queen rarely praised anyone lightly. "You have both acted with courage and intelligence," Queen Alira said. "Your actions today demonstrate that your cooperation, though unusual, has value." Tira's eyes brightened. "Mother, you see? Humans can be allies, not threats." The Queen regarded Ryan carefully. "Perhaps. But remember, human, your presence here remains unusual. Your actions will be monitored closely. Trust is not given lightly, even when skill and courage are evident." "I understand, Your Majesty," Ryan replied. "I am here to help, not to cause harm." Alira nodded. "Very well. For now, your cooperation is acceptable. But take care, human. One misstep could change everything. Ryan bowed. I will be cautious. That night, Tira found him in the garden terrace where he often spent quiet moments looking at the stars beyond the palace towers. The twin moons glowed softly above, casting a pale light over the crystal gardens. You handled today well, Tira said, joining him. I am proud of you. Ryan looked at her and smiled. You guided me more than I guided you. You have a natural instinct for leadership. Humans could learn from that. Tira's gaze fell to the distant city below. There is more to learn here, Ryan. My people are strong and disciplined, but some are resistant to change. Your presence, it challenges tradition. That may be dangerous. I am aware, Ryan said calmly. But I did not come here to challenge. I came to help. Change can happen slowly with careful steps. That is what we are doing together. Their conversation was interrupted by another alert. This time, the problem was in the outer energy shield surrounding the palace. A storm system from the nearby planet was generating magnetic interference that could destabilize the shields. If the shields failed, the city could suffer severe damage. Ryan and Tira rushed to the shield control chamber. The displays showed fluctuating energy levels, alarms blinking rapidly. We have to stabilize it quickly, Ryan said, examining the readouts. Tira leaned in. What do you need me to do? Monitor the primary conduit, Ryan instructed. I'll adjust the secondary feed. Keep the reading steady and alert me to any spikes. Working together, they coordinated their movements. Ryan's fingers flew over the console, rerouting energy through safer channels while Tira's hands followed his instructions precisely. Sparks erupted from overloaded circuits, but they ignored the small shocks, focused entirely on stabilizing the system. Minutes passed, tense and silent except for the hum of the machinery. Finally, the shield stabilized and the alarm stopped. The storm outside remained, but the palace and city were safe. Tira turned to him, her silver eyes shining. You are extraordinary, Ryan. My people will remember today. Even the Queen cannot ignore what you have done. Ryan shook his head. I am just doing what I can. You are the one leading us. Without your help, I could not have done this, she smiled. We are a team. That is how change begins, even in a palace built on rules and tradition. Days later, whispers spread through the palace. Ryan's contributions were being noticed not only by technicians but by guards, advisors, and even members of the court. His courage, intelligence, and willingness to act for the greater good challenged preconceived notions about humans. Tira observed this quietly, proud but cautious. The Queen still watched closely, her gaze sharp, but even she could not deny that the human had proven himself valuable. One evening, Tira approached Ryan in the observation deck. The city below glimmered with lights and the twin moons reflected softly on the glass panels. Ryan, my mother has seen what we can accomplish together, she said. Perhaps she will begin to understand that humans can be allies, not threats. Ryan smiled. It is not about convincing her completely. It is about showing that courage, intelligence, and honesty have value, no matter where you come from. Tira nodded. I agree. And yet we must be careful. There are those in the palace who do not like change. Your presence here, it may provoke them. I can handle it, Ryan said confidently. I have faced scavenger drones, storm hazards, and shattered shuttles. I can handle palace politics. They laughed softly, a rare moment of lightness in a world full of rules and expectations. As the night grew deeper, they looked out at the stars. Ryan thought of the journey ahead, challenges, dangers, and unknown threats, but also of the bond that had formed between him and Tira. Together, they had faced obstacles that would have overwhelmed many, and together they had triumphed. For the first time, Ryan realized that his courage and humanity were not just traits of survival. They were gifts that could build bridges between worlds. Tira had taught him the value of trust and patience, while he had shown her the power of initiative and courage. Their partnership was no longer unusual. It was essential. Ryan's gaze turned to the distant horizon, where the first signs of dawn were beginning to appear. The palace towers gleamed in the early light, and the city below stirred with activity. Challenges would come as they always did, but Ryan felt ready. With Tira at his side, he knew that no obstacle was insurmountable. And in that quiet moment, as the twin suns began to rise and the palace shimmered in golden light, a silent promise formed between human and princess. They would face whatever dangers came together. Their courage and determination would not only protect the palace and its people, but also prove that humanity, even in the far reaches of space, could rise to meet any challenge with honor, skill, and heart.